My name is John Ferrara. I play in two projects. One is called Consider the Source. We do like Middle Eastern, world fusion, improvisational, jazz rock, kind of crazy stuff. And another project called the John Ferrara Seth Mutal Duo. And we're also instrumental. In that project I play these homemade MIDI Taurus pedals with my feet as kind of acting like the bass, and I do primarily tapping to more replicate like what a pianist would do or a guitarist. You know, both projects are pretty out there. We get into some pretty crazy stuff, a lot of improvising. My musical development started when I was pretty much born. I grew up in a musical household. My dad plays guitar. My mom would put on musicals every summer, so I was just constantly surrounded by music. So I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of music, jazz, rock, classical, and different kinds of world music as well. In my early 20s or so, I met the guys in Consider the Source, and we all started playing together, and we have a very heavy world music side to us. I was already very into slap bass, which is kind of like the thing that really drew me to the bass in the first place. And from listening to a lot of different world music, especially Indian music, it kind of helped me shape my slap chops in a whole different way, because the Indian rhythmic stuff is so interesting and so deep, maybe more than any other culture. And when you apply some of those techniques or some of those concepts to slap bass, you can do a lot of cool stuff. So a lot of what I do in Consider the Source and also in my duo project is largely based on Indian concepts. As I developed my slapping voice, I guess, it was really more based on, not so much on funk, more on just like thinking like, oh, that's a cool, like I used to be really into metal, for example, so I would listen to like a metal drummer and say like, oh man, he's doing some really cool double bass patterns, let me see how if I can replicate that. Got into Indian music, oh, that's really cool rhythmic stuff, let me see how to express that. So just looking at the slap bass technique as more of a percussive style rather than just a funk style. I'm a big jazz fan, and so I was really into players like Chick Corea and Brad Meldau, and also just from different 90s rock bands, because that was, when I was younger, that's like the stuff I listened to, Radiohead and things like that, trying to like replicate some of the chord progressions and some of the improvisational ideas that some of these players would do via tapping was something I got very, very interested in. So I think one of the most important things in developing your own voice is to not try to develop your own voice, because the more you try, it becomes forced. I think just like we all have our own fingerprints, we all are going to grow naturally if we allow ourselves to. When I talk to people about this kind of thing, they say, yeah, I want to do that Fish thing, or I want to do that Grateful Dead thing, and I'm like, well, why don't you just play? Why don't you just get together with some people and play some music and just see what naturally happens? Don't try to like steal a chord progression or steal a thing, like just see what comes out of just naturally flowing out of you kind of thing, Also from teaching, I get that from a lot of students. A lot of students are often saying like, how do I develop my own sound? How do I do this? And I'm just like, whatever inspires you, just play it and have it come out the way it comes out, and stop there. I've been with Harkey for, I guess, about 8 or 9 years now. And I've been playing Harkey since I was maybe 16 or so. So, the cool thing is my voice as a bass player kind of developed with Harkey. And the Harkey amps are just so responsive, and especially if you're playing kind of weirdo stuff like this, where you're really exploring like the full range of the bass. I have a 5-string with a high C, so being able to have an amp that can handle everything that's going up here with such clarity and everything down here with such clarity is so essential. Because I developed with it, I feel like part of my voice is that, and it might not have developed like that without it. So yeah, long history with Harkey. The way I can describe the Harkey sound for myself is that I can get a growl if I need to, which I really like to get. It can be crystal clear, especially for like the high tapping solo stuff. If I want to go low, because there's some, especially with Consider the Source, there's sometimes I use certain pedals that, like sub-octave kind of stuff. It handles it just so perfectly. Nothing breaks up or sounds like weird or anything. It's like, I feel very confident in it. But the cool thing is I've also heard a lot of other players, you know, in the scene that we're in that play Harkey as well, and they sound totally different from me. They have like their own thing. They're much like meatier, beefier sounding bass players, and they sound great. You could tell it's a Harkey amp, but it's a very different sound than I get out of mine. So it's another really great thing. This is John Ferrara. You can check out all the Harkey products at AmericanMusical.com.